She is not one of the names that makes headlines. She does not have the media profile of Raskin or Schiff or Booker. She is the ranking member of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, and related agencies. That title is not glamorous. It is, however, the specific title of the person responsible for scrutinizing the FBI's budget, for reviewing how the nation's premier law enforcement agency spends its $10 billion annual allocation, and for holding its director accountable when money moves in ways the law does not permit. Grace Meng came to that hearing with the law in her hands, and she used it. The first question was about records that had disappeared.
If you, the law requires that all the information be posted publicly. Are you committing to do that?
If that's what the law requires, yes. I'm not the appropriations expert, but if that's what the law requires, that's what we'll do.
Do you have a timeline of when that would be possible, and why, since March, has it been taken down?
No, ma'am, but I will get you one.
Federal law requires the Office of Management and Budget to operate and maintain a publicly available system where budget apportionments are posted. Apportionments are formal, legally binding federal accounting documents. They determine how agencies can spend money that Congress has already appropriated. They are not optional disclosures. They are not subject to executive discretion. The Anti-Deficiency Act mandates their public availability. In March 2025, OMB quietly stopped making these documents publicly accessible. The FBI's apportionments, records that by law must be visible to the American people, were simply taken down. Meng looked at Patel and put the question plainly. You stated during your confirmation hearing that you want to work to get public trust in the FBI back. It would seem to me that transparency and public reporting about what, where, and how the Bureau spends money would help in earning back public trust. Will you commit to making the FBI's account-specific apportionments publicly available? Patel said, absolutely, so long as he had the appropriate request. Meng pressed, do you have a timeline for when that would happen, and why, since March, have they been taken down? Patel said, no, but I will get you one. That exchange, the director of the FBI committing on the record to post budget documents that the law already required him to post, while being unable to explain why they had been hidden, took less than 2 minutes. It established 3 things simultaneously. The law had been violated. Patel either knew and had not corrected it, or did not know and had not noticed. And the person running the FBI's budget oversight had just forced a public commitment that now exists in the congressional record. But Meng was not done. She moved to a second document. Ed Martin had been nominated by Trump as the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, one of the most consequential prosecution offices in the country, responsible for cases involving federal officials, Congress members, and the government itself. Martin was already serving in the position in an interim capacity. It had come to light that Martin had praised Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist and Holocaust denier, as an extraordinary leader, and had falsely claimed he did not previously know that Fuentes was a Nazi sympathizer. The FBI conducts background investigations on nominees for senior federal positions. Those investigations exist precisely to surface information of this kind. Meng asked Patel, do you think the FBI should be careful to investigate this kind of background as part of its investigation of nominees like Martin? Patel said he was not familiar with Martin's specific background investigation, but that the FBI's career staff handle all background investigations without direction from leadership about what to include. Meng asked, do you know if this information was part of his record? Patel said, I'm not familiar with his personal background. Meng asked, do you think these types of controversial comments and past associations are the kinds of things that should disqualify someone from holding one of the top prosecution positions in the country? Patel deflected. He said the investigation process is handled by career staff. He said he trusts that process. The hearing record now contains the following. The FBI director confirmed under oath that he does not know whether the nominee for the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia was investigated for his documented association with a white nationalist Holocaust denier. He confirmed he is not familiar with the nominee's background. He confirmed the background investigation process runs through career staff, the same career staff he had been systematically firing and reassigning throughout the previous 3 months. That connection between Patel's firing of career officials and the oversight processes those officials run was the subtext of the third line of questioning. James Dennehy had been the head of the FBI's New York field office. He was described across the law enforcement community as highly respected. He was essentially forced out after he refused a White House request to turn in the names of all agents who had worked on Capitol riot cases, a list that would have been used to target those agents for firing. Mung asked about Dennehy, about what had happened to him, about why a director who had promised at his confirmation hearing that no FBI employee would face political retribution had presided over the removal of one of the Bureau's most senior officials for refusing to compile a list that would have enabled exactly that retribution. Patel defended the personnel decisions as based on merit and qualification. The record shows Dennehy received no stated reason for his removal. The record shows he had refused a specific White House request. The record shows he was gone within weeks of that refusal. The record shows Dennehy received no stated reason for his removal. The record shows he had refused a specific White House request. The record shows he was gone within weeks of that refusal. Mung's questioning produced no single dramatic moment. There was no shouting match. There was no memorable insult. There was a systematic documentation of 3 specific legal and institutional failures, hidden budget records required by law to be public, a background check process that may have failed to surface material information about a senior nominee, and a pattern of personnel actions that contradicted direct confirmation hearing testimony. 3 questions, 3 documented problems, all from the ranking member of the subcommittee responsible for the FBI's funding. Several months later, Mung sent a second letter. This one concerned something more immediately dangerous. Patel had fired multiple agents from CY-12, the FBI's elite counterintelligence division responsible for tracking threats from Iran and the Middle East. The firings happened days before U.S. military operations against Iran began. Reports indicated the fired agents had been working on investigations related to classified documents. Mung asked Patel to justify why those agents had been removed. She asked for staffing levels across counterintelligence and counter-espionage teams since Trump's second term began. She asked how the FBI was coordinating with state, local, and international partners to address the threat of Iranian sleeper cells on American soil, a threat that counterterrorism analysts were describing as elevated specifically because of the military operations. Patel did not answer publicly. He runs the agency. She funds it. He fired the agents. She is asking why. The records of that exchange will still be there when the answers matter most.